Welcome to sunny South Africa, Kruger National Park, where I'll be working with the Endangered Wildlife Trust as a lion field assistant. Mainly I will be assisting with the field work that's geared towards lion population estimates, which is essentially counting lions, so tracking and counting lions. This series will be a bit different from what Atse and I have done in the past with chasing carnivores. I will mainly show you the important work that the EWT is doing to conserve vulnerable carnivore species like the lion, but also African wild dogs, leopards, cheetahs even. So I'll bring you along some of the field work and also show you some of the incredible species that live in these ecosystems. But there's absolutely no doubt about how gorgeous this area is, so I'm sure we're in for a treat. This place is filled with amazing species of herbivores, carnivores, you name it. So I'm very excited to bring you along on our adventures again here. Before any of the EWT fieldwork commenced, I went out on a tryout self-driving safari together with my girlfriend Anouk, who's also a biologist and a nature photographer. And it wasn't long before we ran into some prey species of the lion. Some big, some small. Impalas are one of the most common antelope species in Kruger Park and also one of the most preferred prey species of the lion. They're mostly known for their remarkable agility, as they can also reach speeds of up to 60 kilometers per hour. But when a lion is hunting this particular species, they engage in this behavior that we call stotting or pronking, which is basically high jumps of up to 3 meters sometimes that they use to evade predators like lions. And impalas are also mixed feeders, which means they're both grazing and browsing, and also this diet is available all year around, which also means that the lion has this prey available all year around. And because impalas are so readily available to predators and they have this sort of M-like figure on the end of their butts, they usually refer to this species as the bush McDonald's. And after just simply driving a few hours through Kruger National Park, we were absolutely blown away by the variety of wildlife. So zebras are also a very common prey species of the lion. They're very well known because of their distinctive stripe pattern, the black and the white. Each individual has his own unique pattern. And this species of zebra is actually called the Burchell zebra. And zebras live in these groups that we call harems, which consists of a single stallion, several mares, and their offspring. And this social structure helps to keep them safe from lions. So zebras rely on their speed and their stamina to get away from lions, and they can run up to 65 kilometers per hour, where they usually go for this more or less zigzag pattern to flee from the lions. And usually it's the isolated individuals, normally the young or the sick ones, that get caught. Just as we were making our way back, we ran into a small confrontation with the largest land mammal on Earth. We simply gave him some space, after which it was all good. And while we left the park, we knew the coming weeks were going to be absolutely fascinating. Back at the camp, we joined up again with the EWT team, which consists of Marnus, a conservation officer at EWT with over 15 years of experience in lion conservation, Alison, a PhD candidate from the Stellenbosch University, Lesego, a Bachelor of Science in Zoology and an intern at EWT, and Linda, a wildlife photographer with a lot of experience. And the next day, it was finally time for field work. For this first day of field work, I was absolutely thrilled to hit the field with Marnus and Lesego. roads were not all that smooth, and Marnus taught us many different skills and knowledge of the bush, such as reading and recognizing tracks.
So no, here's Hyena. So I'm going to carry on driving to see. It looks like it's a female.
We kept our eyes peeled for lion tracks and followed our predetermined route for that day. That was until we found my first ever wild lion. Truly an unforgettable experience. The reason why we are making photographs of these lions is so that we can identify them individually. Because unlike tigers or leopards who have very distinctive spot or stripe patterns, lions can be quite tricky to identify individually. However, their whisker spots are unique, and therefore the survey is largely based on finding lions and making a catalog of their left and right whisker spots. And these can then be used to calculate population estimates or population densities, which can inform conservation of the lions. And after processing these 2 subadult males, I picked up Anouk and Linda again to see if the lions were still there. The wildlife was everywhere. Behind me we have perhaps one of the most famous animals in the entire world, the African elephant. They're absolutely massive, they can weigh up to 6,000 kilograms, and because of this huge size they actually have very few natural predators. Lions may occasionally hunt for young or sick individuals where they try to isolate these from the herd, but most of the time predators are left ineffective whenever they encounter elephants. They can try and take down an elephant, but they can deal with devastating blows, so most predators won't even try. As you can see, they're absolutely breathtaking. And what's also interesting is that most of the herds are matriarchal, so they're led by females. And since elephants are highly intelligent and they have this very complex communication, whenever a threat is around, they can communicate this amongst each other and try to stay alert for whenever a predator tries to isolate a younger or sick individual, for instance. Once we were back at the camp, we celebrated these first successful IDs of lions together. And the next morning, we set out on fieldwork again. And at every start of such a survey, you turn on a GPS tracker that records the path you took and the amount of kilometers you drove that day. And slowly but surely, the animals were waking up from a cold morning. Leopards are largely known for their adaptability. They roam all the way from Sri Lanka to southern Africa. You have the Arabian leopard in Yemen, for instance. They're very adaptable species that you find in a huge range of ecosystems and landscapes. However, one of their utmost preferred landscapes remains rocky terrains. Rocky terrains, they provide vantage points for leopards, which are elevated positions that allow them to survey the area to see if there's any prey around. And this natural cover of boulders and rocks then also provides them with some form of shelter to remain hidden while trying to stalk up on their prey, or to remain stealthy, to ambush a prey. And because leopards are so incredibly strong and agile, they can drag their prey up on these higher cliffs or even in trees so that their food sources are not scavenged on by other animals. So that's why we keep our eyes open when we see these types of areas. Even though our main focus of this survey was lions, we kept our eyes peeled for other carnivores as well, until eventually our hunch proved right. So we just reached back to camp, and as you can see, we found exactly what we hoped we would find. A stunning African leopard, a female. It swiftly crossed the road and then elegantly made its way through the tall grass, and eventually it hopped onto a rock. You could see its silhouette, like absolutely majestic. So African leopards are one of the bigger carnivores that you also find in Kruger National Park. Unlike lions that live in prides, leopards are more solitary, just like this female that we just saw. And what's even more special is that a few moments later, we ran into another carnivore species that can be found here in Kruger National Park. The spotted hyena. After seeing this beautiful spotted hyena for the first time in my life, I couldn't wait to call Atse, since he has loads of experience himself studying this remarkable species.
So I've had the privilege to study spotted hyenas in the wild. I did that in central Thule in Botswana, a very remote area where there is a high density of spotted hyenas. I did so by placing camera traps on trees, and on the images of the camera traps we were able to distinguish individual spotted hyenas because each individual has a unique spotted fur. That's why they're called spotted hyenas. By doing so, I could tell which individuals were more of a loner or which individuals prefer to hang out with other individuals. I created this social network, and we realized that, as you can see here on this figure, there were 3 clans in our study area. And spotted hyenas are very territorial. And we can indeed see that the social ties within the individuals that were recorded on a camera were almost completely based on individuals from the same clan, compared to, for example, lions, which have a more rigid social structure of a few individuals. Spotted hyenas clans can go up to over 50 individuals on the eastern African savanna, but maybe as low as 5 or 6 individuals in desert-like areas, more in southern Africa, for example. And also they have an interesting hierarchy in the clan, because the females are the matriarchs and they are the most dominant ones. They're also larger than the males, so that makes spotted hyenas very interesting. They are very adaptive to their environment, depending on the local conditions, on food availability and prey species. Their hunting success rate is actually higher than those of lions in some cases. And indeed they do scavenge, but the image that has been made on the movie The Lion King, that obviously gave them a really bad reputation. And in my view, spotted hyenas deserve a better image, because I think they're quite cool, and studying them in the wild is indeed pretty awesome.
And as if these 2 carnivores weren't enough already, it wasn't long until we saw something moving in the bush across from the riverbed again.
Just like we hoped. Lions.
So Linda is trying to get a photographic ID of these lions right now, but they're extremely far away, so it's really hard to get a good image of those whisker spots on the left and the right. We think there's 4 females, 1 adult male. It's challenging. There's now a good visual on 2 cubs. Absolutely amazing. I don't think they're older than 2 months. It's beautiful. In the next episode of Chasing Carnivores, we witness an extraordinary love story, embark on more fieldwork in Letaba, and find many more carnivores, especially lions. Thanks for tagging along in this 6th chapter of Chasing Carnivores here in South Africa. If you haven't seen our previous videos in Slovenia and Nepal, and even the wolf in the Netherlands, check them out right here. And if you like this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe, please.